All right, in today's video, we're going to be taking a look here at the current conditions. We will also be taking an overall look at the upcoming pattern. There is a whole lot to talk about, and we do see some cold air making its way into the eastern United States, which is, what we saw yesterday. We're seeing a little bit more of it today, which is a good sign that it's pretty legitimate. A lot of people have been commenting like, well, yesterday you called for cold in the west, and now you're calling for cold in the east. We're still calling for cold in the west. It's just at day 9 and 10 about we see cold come in the east. So it all kind of progresses. Everything's kind of gone as planned if you've been keeping up with the videos. Nothing very unexpected has happened since we've changed our format. This format is much easier to predict things because we're just taking a look at overall patterns more rather than specific forecasts like, oh, there's going to be a snowstorm on day 10 here. It's a little bit harder to predict that. Imagine if that actually happened. That'd be crazy. We do see that there is a storm system moving through the Pacific Northwest. We saw this yesterday, but it has expanded quite a bit. And then we have two low pressure systems here in the eastern United States wreaking havoc, really causing a lot of storminess for most of the eastern United States today on Halloween. Happy Halloween, by the way. So let's just zoom into some different regions here. And as we can see, we have a little bit more storminess than we saw yesterday here for the Northwest. We see showers kind of in the surrounding states, so more like showers through these pockets in Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and even eastern Washington there. But we're seeing a little bit more persistent storminess up here the further northwest you go. So for coastal regions of Washington and western Oregon there, we are seeing heavier showers, but not only that, more persistent. So less likely to see a stopping of that rainfall. It's more just constant in these regions. Also, across these northern Cascades in here, we are seeing some mixing and even snowfall the further north you go, especially there. Probably fairly heavy and accumulating very quickly would be my estimate here with this storm system. And we can see the low is still over Vancouver Island. This cold front is approaching from the west. This warm front has moved through. So we're probably seeing some warmer air than we're going to see after this cold front moves through afterwards. So this is going to swing through. We'll probably see more wintry weather able to make its way into these regions. Now, as we kind of just move ourselves across the country here, we can see this first low up here in Illinois and Indiana is bringing some spotty showers and storminess in general around for Missouri, Illinois, Indiana. So many different states seeing some of this showery activity, heavier in certain spots, especially kind of in this corridor here. So across central Illinois and northern Indiana there, we can see that it's all kind of connected, but as we work our way further north, we can see some more sporadic showers moving across these regions through Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York. It is heavier in spots, so that is worth noting as well. Definitely heavier in some spots. As we work our way southward through the Carolinas, Virginia, Maryland here as well, we can see heavier showers, but definitely spotty, mostly happening across the western regions of these states. So mostly in here is where we're seeing most of this activity across western Virginia there. Not West Virginia, but western Virginia. And then western North Carolina as well. We're seeing some of this activity. We do have this low underneath, but most of the precipitation is happening pretty far away from this low, which isn't unheard of. Definitely happens from time to time. We can literally see a lot of this moisture moving in just like this. So I expect more and more storminess for a lot of these areas through the day today and into tomorrow especially. We do have some isolated activity here. There is some low pressure nearby, so we are seeing some of this typical Florida kind of tropical thunderstorm activity, probably hotter down there right now as well with the cold front just to the west. I'm assuming things will cool down quite nicely, but right now we're seeing some nice Florida weather with the isolated thunderstorms around. Pretty typical for any time of year, but a little bit more rare this time of year, I would say. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on. We're going to see how this pattern is going to progress over the coming days and even through the next 10 days as we will possibly enter into a new pattern. Now, here we are taking a look at the upcoming simulated radar, and this is later on this afternoon. We can see this storminess here in the eastern United States has expanded in all directions. We can see it spreading through the eastern United States here, bringing heavier pockets in similar spots to what we were seeing in the current radar imagery a little minute ago. We can see that for the northwest, we still have this storminess ongoing. As we continue things on, look at this. It becomes a lot more wintry, like I mentioned, after that cold front swings through Northern California, Oregon, up through Washington, Idaho, and Montana, seeing a bit of a major snowstorm here. As this storm comes onshore to the northwest and brings a trough down with it, might I mention as well. We also see this storminess continuing. This is by Tuesday afternoon, tomorrow from the time I'm making this video, November 1st. As we can see by Wednesday afternoon, we see this snowfall expand throughout this trough that we're seeing in the west. That's Wednesday, November 2nd. We really see a lot of warm and dry weather for the east here now, following that storminess that we saw move through just a minute ago. So let's continue on with this. By Thursday, the 3rd here, we see a lot of this snowfall move southward here into Southern California, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico. They're seeing plenty of snowfall. We see a lot of this warmer weather spreading through into a lot of the eastern United States here. Still, as we continue this on towards Friday the 4th, we can see another major storm system up here for Canada swinging underneath some of this precipitation. And this comes in the form of snowfall for a lot of these mountainous regions, and then rainfall here for the coastal regions of Oregon and Washington. We still have snowfall underneath for the four corner states as well. We can see a bit of a frontal boundary swinging down below the central United States here, bringing some storminess along that area. This actually does develop into a pretty strong low. We do have a secondary low up to the north as well. And the most major of this precipitation is happening further south: Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa. Potential for severe weather, in my opinion, during this time frame. So next weekend, we're going to want to really watch for this. About Saturday the 5th, Friday through Saturday, the 4th through the 5th, I definitely think there is some potential there for some severe weather. Now, snowfall for Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, happening all over again. So it's starting back up here by the weekend. It's after we get through the weekend, things get pretty interesting. Actually, Sunday here, 969 millibar low pressure center here. Major snowfall happening in a lot of these areas. Heavy snowfall happening around that low. If we can get a little bit more cold air in here quicker, we can definitely have a major snowstorm around where this low is happening with a lot of this precipitation. There is potential there across the central United States. Definitely South Central Canada seeing a major snowfall event with this. Now, what's interesting is right after this is when we get a bit of a pattern switch where we're seeing this trough move much more into the eastern United States than we've seen for a little while here. And we do get a bit of a ridge moving westward here, trying to force that cold air towards the east. This is about Monday, Tuesday timeframe, 7th through the 8th, that we see this moving through. But what we see happen after is this kind of lifts off, and we see another trough kind of trying to force its way down. The one thing I will say is that this is starting with a low here, and this has the potential to pull eastward. And this could also reinforce the ridge here again, and we could get back into this again with this storm system as well. We saw a lot of that through September and October, earlier October that is, and we could see more and more of this. So I'm definitely seeing some big signs that this pattern is changing. And also, it's important to note that we have another big snowstorm happening here across the north central United States again. I definitely see the potential for this pattern to move more towards cold in the east, warm in the west out here around that 7th through 10th time frame and possibly beyond. So we need to watch this very closely. Now, the total precipitation through the next 10 days, whites are going to be practically no precipitation. Your grays will be 1/10 of an inch or less. Your greens will be 1/10 of an inch to 1/2 an inch. Your blues will be 1/2 an inch to an inch. Your yellows will be 1 inch to 2 inches. Your reds will be 2 to 5 inches. And then your browns will be 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. Blues being 10 to 15 inches of precipitation there for Oregon and Washington. So plenty of precipitation for the next 10 days expected there. Now, for the total snowfall, no surprise here, we have more across the north central United States than we've seen in recent model runs. If you're anywhere in the grays here, we're seeing a dusting, if anything. Blues will be 2 to 6 inches of snowfall. Purples will be 6 to 10. Pinks will be 10 to 20. Pastel blues will be 20 to 30. And then your pastel pinks and purples there will be 30 to 48 inches plus of snowfall, possibly up to 100 inches in some spots there. Now, as far as the temperature pattern here, let's take a look at it. We see we're in a more mild pattern where everywhere is kind of light yellow or light blue for the most part, indicating things are pretty close to normal for a lot of folks, at least last night into this morning. What we're going to see is over time, we're going to see much more cooling as these greens appear. We see more far below normal temperatures out west associated with that snowfall. And then we see a lot of red here across the north central and northeastern United States here. So a lot of these areas here. Now we are seeing a lot of diving cold air here as well, so it's pretty easy to pick up that we're seeing a pattern something like this with the jet stream. And this would indicate why we're seeing a lot of these storms take this track as well with that jet stream. Now, as we continue things on, we see that this begins to kind of push eastward over time, this warmest pocket, and really the divider here. We do see the cold air diving further south as well. California, Nevada, the Four Corner States as well, seeing the most of this. Now, as we continue things on, that's by Saturday the 5th. As we approach about Monday the 7th here, things get really interesting as we see most of the warmest air along the eastern seaboard. Some neutral air here for the central United States, and a lot of this cold is bottled up here, primed to move eastward. As we approach earlier into the week, Tuesday, look at that, look what we're seeing happening. An explosion, an Arctic blast here, really moving towards the southeast. We see the warm air still racing up the east coast, but not for long, as by basically Wednesday here, we see this Arctic blast move through. Not a very major one, but it definitely is a huge blast of air moving pretty quickly into the eastern United States. And then what we're kind of left with is we have these below normal temperatures here in the eastern United States, but we have another bottled up, just extreme cold air mass here in the northwestern United States. And it's a question of, is it going to move straight south from this point, or is it going to move eastward from this point? And only time will be able to tell, but I will say, based on the simulated radar we were taking a look at, there was a storm located here that looked primed to move eastward, and usually this is what will pull the cold air. So I am leaning towards potentially the cold air moving eastward from this point, but really anything is possible. I love these types of situations where only time will be able to tell. It kind of leaves us wondering, and hey, we will see in the future videos what's going to happen with this. This is right at the end of the model run, right around November 10th, and I can already tell that November is going to be a very, very exciting month all around. I hope you guys are as excited as I am. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to get those daily uploads, because we do upload every single day. You'll get those in your subscription box. You can even hit the bell icon as well, actually, to get those notifications to make extra sure that you see the videos when they come out. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.